The signal came on a quiet Tuesday morning. At first, the radio technicians at NASA's Deep Space Network thought it was just another piece of space debris creating interference. But this signal was different. It pulsed with a clear pattern that no natural phenomenon could create. Tom Miller had been working at the California tracking station for 15 years, and he had never seen anything like it. The signal's strength was massive, coming from somewhere just past Neptune's orbit. His hands trembled as he called his supervisor. Within hours, every major space agency on Earth was analyzing the same signal. It wasn't just random noise. It was a message, repeating over and over in multiple mathematical sequences that could only be artificial. "It's definitely not one of ours," said Dr. Roberts, the lead scientist at NASA's Communications Center. She had dark circles under her eyes after working for 20 straight hours. And the power required to send this signal, it's beyond anything we can currently produce. The world's best code breakers and mathematicians worked day and night to decode the message. After 3 days of non-stop work, they'd finally broke through. The message was simple but shocking. EMERG and SUI. Fleet strand ED. Power systems critical. Requesting immediate ASI stance. More detailed messages followed. The alien fleet called themselves part of the Stellar Assembly, an advanced civilization that had been traveling through space for what they called standard cycles. They had been transporting millions of their people to new colony worlds when disaster struck. Their highly advanced quantum drive systems had encountered something they called a void anomaly, a mysterious phenomenon that had completely shut down their main power systems. Now, their massive fleet of ships was drifting helplessly at the edge of our solar system, with backup power running dangerously low. The United Nations called an emergency session. Leaders from every nation gathered to face a decision that would change human history forever. On the massive screens in the UN Assembly Hall, more messages from the alien fleet painted a dire picture. Life support systems failing on outer ships. One message read, estimated survival time, 40 planetary rotations. The alien messages carried an undertone that the humans quickly picked up on. Embarrassment. These advanced beings, capable of crossing the galaxy, found themselves in the humbling position of asking for help from what they called a pre-spacefaring species. "They think we're primitives," General White said during the emergency meeting, his voice gruff but amused. "But right now, we're the only hope they've got." The aliens had detected Earth's radio signals and basic space activities. While they considered humans technically primitive, they had no choice but to reach out. Their own rescue ships were too far away to arrive in time. President Martinez stood at the UN podium, her face grave but determined. "We face a historic decision," she announced to the assembled leaders. "An advanced civilization needs our help. Yes, their technology is far beyond ours. Yes, they may view us as primitive. But they are facing a humanitarian crisis, and humanity has never turned its back on those in need." The vote was unanimous. Earth would mount a rescue mission. Within days, the world's space agencies began an unprecedented collaboration. Every rocket, every space-capable vessel, and every experienced astronaut was called into service. Engineers worked around the clock to modify existing spacecraft for deep space travel. The International Space Response Team was formed, led by Captain James Walker, a veteran astronaut known for his innovative problem-solving skills. As he reviewed the alien technical data that had been transmitted, he noticed something interesting. "Look at this," he said to Dr. Thompson, pointing at the alien power specifications. "Their advanced systems are completely dead, but their basic life support runs on principles similar to our nuclear power systems. We might not be as primitive as they think." As the rescue fleet began to assemble in Earth's orbit, more messages arrived from the stranded aliens. Their situation was growing worse. Several smaller ships had already lost power completely, forcing evacuations to their larger vessels. Time was running out. The humans worked faster. There was no room for political squabbles or national pride. For the first time in history, Humanity was truly united in a single cause: to save a civilization that had accidentally discovered that being technologically advanced didn't always mean having all the answers. The rescue mission would launch in 72 hours. Whether humanity was ready or not, they were about to meet their first aliens. And they were going to do what humans did best: solve problems that seemed impossible. The greatest challenge in human history was about to begin. The launch countdown echoed through Kennedy Space Center as humanity's rescue fleet prepared for departure. 5 massive ships, the largest space vessels humans had ever built, stood ready on their launch pads. Each one had been assembled in just 10 days, using parts from every space program on Earth. Captain James Walker stood in his flight suit, looking up at the commanding vessel, Unity 1. The ship was a marvel of rushed engineering, a combination of rocket technology from 6 different nations, held together by determination and hope. "They said it couldn't be done," muttered Dr. Thompson, walking up beside him. The nuclear physicist had barely slept in the past week, working to modify their reactors for deep space travel. 10 days to build a rescue fleet. It would have been impossible a month ago. Walker nodded, remembering the chaos of the past days. Every shipyard, every aerospace facility, and every scientific institution had worked around the clock. People forgot about national borders and corporate rivalries. The whole world watched as their best minds collaborated on the biggest engineering project in human history. The rescue fleet carried an interesting mix of technology. While the aliens had systems that seemed like magic to humans, their current situation required something more reliable. Something tested by time. Something human. "Final checks complete," announced Commander Richards over the radio. She had been coordinating the massive operation from Mission Control. "All ships report ready for launch, beginning final countdown." The 5 ships would launch together, their nuclear engines modified to work in ways their designers had never imagined. Each vessel carried a crew of 30 engineers, technicians, and problem solvers chosen for their ability to think on their feet. T-minus 60 seconds. The countdown continued. Walker took his place in the command chair of Unity 1. Around him, his crew worked with focused precision. They all knew the stakes. Millions of alien lives depended on their success. The launches were perfect. 5 pillars of flame pushed against Earth's gravity, carrying humanity's hope toward the stars. As they cleared the atmosphere, Walker looked back at the blue planet below. No human had ever traveled this far before. They were about to go beyond Neptune's orbit. The fleet's nuclear engines powered up for deep space travel. Dr. Thompson's modifications worked exactly as planned. These weren't the fancy quantum drives the aliens used, but they were reliable. They were human. "Message from the alien fleet," reported Lisa, their communications officer. "They're surprised. They didn't expect us to launch so quickly. They thought it would take us months just to understand their situation." Walker smiled. "Tell them we're full of surprises." The journey would take 2 weeks, blazingly fast by human standards, but painfully slow to their alien friends. The rescue fleet pushed their engines to their limits, burning through nuclear fuel at rates that would have seemed insane during testing. Daily updates from the stranded fleet grew more urgent. More ships were losing power. The aliens had managed to cluster their vessels together, sharing what little power remained among them. But it wasn't enough. "They're evacuating the outer ships," Lisa reported one morning, her voice tense. "Moving everyone to the central vessels to conserve power, but they're running out of space." Walker gathered his crew for a briefing. "Listen up, people. We're going to arrive at a crisis. These aliens have technology we can barely understand, but right now that technology is failing them. They need our help, not because we're advanced, but because we know how to fix things, how to make things work when they shouldn't." The crew nodded. They had trained for every possible scenario they could think of, and they were ready to improvise for the ones they couldn't predict. That was the human way. On the 10th day of their journey, they got their first visual contact. The alien fleet appeared on their screens. Massive ships, elegant and advanced, floating powerless in the void. There were hundreds of them, each larger than anything humans had ever built. "My God," whispered Dr. Thompson, staring at the readings. "Their smallest ship is bigger than anything we've ever made. How are we supposed to help them?" Walker looked at the determination on the faces of his crew. "The same way humanity has solved every problem in our history, one step at a time, with whatever tools we have, never giving up until we find a solution." Unity 1 led the rescue fleet forward. First contact was minutes away, and humanity was about to show the galaxy what they could do with simple tools and unlimited determination. The alien ships loomed ahead of Unity 1, their silver hulls reflecting the distant sunlight. Up close, they were even more impressive than in the images. Each vessel was shaped like a massive arrow, with smooth curves that seemed to bend the very space around them. But now these magnificent ships floated helplessly in the void, their powerful engines silent. "This is Unity 1 to Stellar Assembly Fleet," Walker transmitted. "We've come to help." There was a pause, then a response came through. The computer translated the alien language. "Welcome, Earth vessels. Though we admit to some confusion, your ships are much smaller than we expected." The alien voice belonged to their chief engineer, who introduced herself as Ada. Her tone carried what seemed like worry, or perhaps disappointment. Walker understood. Their rescue fleet must look like toys compared to the alien vessels. "Request permission to dock with your command ship," Walker replied. "We've brought solutions you might find interesting." The docking process was tense. The human ships had been built to be compatible with the alien docking systems, based on the technical data they'd been sent. But theory and practice were different things. Walker held his breath as Unity 1's docking ring connected with the alien ship. The airlock cycled, and humanity had its first face-to-face meeting with alien life. Ada and her team waited on the other side. They were tall, elegant beings with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer. Their eyes were large and dark, adapted to the dim light of distant stars. Dr. Thompson stepped forward with the human technical team, carrying what must have looked like primitive tools to the aliens. Ada's eyes narrowed at the sight. "You brought physical tools?" she asked, her translator making her confusion clear. "We expected quantum manipulators, at least. Sometimes the old ways work best," Thompson replied with a smile. "May we see your engine room?" The walk to the engine room was a crash course in cultural differences. The aliens had automated everything. Their corridors were pristine, without a single repair panel or maintenance hatch in sight. The humans, carrying their tools and portable nuclear generators, must have looked like primitives to them. The engine room was a marvel of technology. Crystalline structures pulsed with faint light, the last remnants of power in the mighty ship. Ada explained how the quantum anomaly had corrupted their drive systems, making their advanced technology useless. "Your backup systems?" Walker asked. "They run on more basic principles, right?" "Yes," Ada replied, somewhat embarrassed. "Simple fusion reactions, but they were only meant for emergencies, without the quantum drives." "Show us," Thompson interrupted. She was already unfolding diagrams of their own nuclear systems. "I think we can help." The next few hours were a lesson in humility. For both species, the aliens watched in mixed horror and fascination as the humans actually opened panels and worked with their hands. They had forgotten such things were even possible, relying for so long on automated systems and AI. "You're going to physically connect these systems?" Ada asked, watching Thompson's team work. "But the radiation?" "We've been handling nuclear power for centuries," Thompson replied, her hand steady as she worked. "Sometimes you need to get your hands dirty to solve a problem." The aliens learned something that day. While they had advanced far beyond human technology, they had also lost something: the ability to improvise, to work with basic tools, to understand their systems at the most fundamental level. Walker watched as human engineers worked alongside alien technicians. The aliens began to ask questions, curious about the primitive but effective methods the humans used. Their initial dismissal turned to interest, then respect. "Your approach is unorthodox," Ada admitted to Walker, watching the team's work, "but I begin to see its value." We became so dependent on advanced technology that we forgot the basics. The first test of their hybrid power system was ready. Thompson's team had connected their nuclear generators to the alien backup systems, creating something entirely new. It wasn't pretty, pipes and cables connected to elegant alien crystals, but it might work. "Ready for power-up," Thompson announced. The room fell silent. Humans and aliens watched as the system hummed to life. The alien crystals began to glow brighter, fed by the steady power of human nuclear technology. Walker smiled as the power readings stabilized. This was just the beginning. But it was a start. Humanity had proved they belonged among the stars, not because they were advanced, but because they remembered how to solve problems with whatever tools they had. "Now," he said to Ada, "let's talk about saving the rest of your fleet." The success of the first power test changed everything. Word spread quickly through the alien fleet. The primitive humans had actually done it. They had found a way to power their systems, using technology that the stellar assembly had surpassed centuries ago. Dr. Thompson stood in front of a holographic display, explaining their solution to a room full of alien engineers. Even Ada looked impressed as Thompson drew diagrams in the air with her finger. "The trick isn't to replace your quantum systems," Thompson explained, pointing to their hybrid design. "It's to use our nuclear power to support your existing backup systems. Think of it like using a simple battery to jumpstart a complex engine." The alien engineers murmured among themselves. One of them, a specialist named Wren, stepped forward. "But the radiation from your nuclear systems, our sensors say it's dangerous." Thompson smiled. "That's why we brought our shielding technology. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. We've been handling nuclear power safely for hundreds of years." In another part of the ship, Walker worked with Ada to plan the fleet-wide rescue. The numbers were staggering. There were over 300 ships in the alien fleet, each one carrying thousands of refugees. They would need to scale up their solution dramatically. "We can't power every ship individually," Walker said, studying the fleet diagram. "But we can create power distribution networks. Groups of 20 ships, each one sharing power from a central hub." Ada nodded slowly. "Like a web of energy. We have similar systems, but we never thought to apply them this way." She paused, then added, "We've become too dependent on our advanced technology. We forgot how to think simply." The human rescue fleet split up, each ship taking responsibility for a section of the alien fleet. Unity 1 became a training center where human engineers taught alien crews how to maintain the hybrid power systems. The work was hard and dangerous. Human technicians in radiation suits worked alongside alien engineers in environmental fields. They ran power lines between ships, installed nuclear generators, and modified alien systems to accept the new power source. "Watch the connection point," Thompson called out during one installation. "The power surge needs to be steady. Too much at once will overload their crystals." The aliens learned quickly. They were brilliant engineers who had simply never needed to work this way before. Their society had advanced so far that they'd lost touch with the basics of power management. The humans were teaching them to reconnect with fundamental engineering principles. "It's like learning to walk again," Ada told Walker as they watched another successful power-up. "We've been flying so long we forgot about crawling." The hybrid system worked better than anyone expected. The steady flow of nuclear power, when properly channeled through the alien backup systems, provided enough energy to maintain life support and basic functions. It wasn't enough to power their quantum drives, but it would keep everyone alive until proper help arrived. More importantly, the system was stable. Unlike their quantum technology, which had been vulnerable to the space anomaly, the simple nuclear power systems were unaffected. Sometimes, less advanced technology was more reliable. "Your people have surprised us," Ada admitted to Walker one day, as they watched human and alien crews working together. "We thought we would have to teach you everything." Instead, we're learning from you. Walker watched as Thompson's team completed another power hub. That's the thing about humans, he replied. We never stopped learning the basics. Every solution doesn't need to be advanced. It just needs to work. The work continued around the clock. Ship by ship, section by section, the fleet was coming back to life. It wasn't the elegant solution the aliens were used to, but it was working. Human ingenuity, combined with alien technology, was creating something entirely new. You know what impresses me most, Ada said, watching another power hub come online. Your people aren't afraid to fail. You try things, adjust them, try again. We became so reliant on perfect solutions that we forgot how to experiment. Thompson joined them, her radiation suit marked with the grime of honest work. That's the secret of human engineering, she said. We know that perfection is the enemy of progress. Sometimes you need to get your hands dirty to find the right solution. The rescue mission was succeeding, but they all knew this was just the beginning. The real test would come when they tried to power up the larger ships in the fleet. The warning alarms started in the middle of what the humans called night shift. Deep in the engine room of one of the largest alien ships, a power distribution hub began to overload. The quantum anomaly that had originally stranded the fleet was growing stronger. All teams, emergency stations, Walker's voice boomed through the communication systems. Power surge detected in Sector 7. Dr. Thompson was already running toward the problem, her toolkit bouncing against her leg. The aliens had never seen humans move so fast. Their own emergency protocols relied on automated systems that were now useless. The anomaly is affecting our hybrid systems, Ada reported, her silver skin pulsing with worry patterns. The power surges are getting worse. 3 more hubs are showing critical readings. The situation was dire. The power surges were traveling through the distribution network they had created, threatening to overload every connection. If they lost the network, millions of refugees would be without life support in a matter of hours. Shut down the main distribution lines, Thompson shouted, her hands flying over the control panels. We need to isolate each section before the surge spreads. But the aliens hesitated. Their training told them never to shut down power systems without running full diagnostics first. Every action needed to be analyzed, simulated, and approved. Walker saw the problem immediately. No time for protocols, he said to Ada. Trust us. Shut it down. Now. Ada made a decision that went against centuries of her people's training. She bypassed the safety protocols and initiated an emergency shutdown. The lights dimmed across dozens of ships as power was cut. Now what? She asked, looking at the humans. Half our fleet is running on emergency backup power. We have maybe 2 hours before life support fails. Thompson was already pulling apart one of their nuclear generators. We adapt, she said simply. That's what humans do best. The next hour was controlled chaos. Human engineers worked frantically to modify their nuclear generators. They had discovered that the quantum anomaly couldn't affect their technology directly. It could only travel through the alien power systems. We need to rebuild the whole distribution network, Thompson explained, sketching a new design on a piece of paper, something that amazed the aliens who had never seen anyone actually write by hand. More isolation points, more manual controls, less automation. Teams of humans and aliens worked together, racing against time. They ripped out automated systems and replaced them with manual controls. Every connection had to be rebuilt, every power line reinforced. Another surge coming, someone shouted. Walker watched the power readings spike dangerously high. But this time, they were ready. Human technicians at each isolation point manually adjusted the power flow, compensating for the surge. It wasn't elegant, but it worked. The network held. I don't understand, Ada said, watching the humans work. Your technology is so basic. Why is it working better than ours? Because we can control it, Thompson replied, her hand steady as she rewired another connection. Your advanced systems are wonderful when they work, but they're too complex to fix quickly when they fail. Sometimes simple is better. The crisis forced them to rebuild their entire power distribution system. Ships that had been running on automated systems for centuries now required manual monitoring. The aliens had to learn to trust their own judgment instead of relying on computers. "Your people are teaching us something important," Ada told Walker as they watched the team's work. "We became so focused on advancing our technology that we forgot the importance of understanding it, of being able to fix it when it breaks." The new power network was ugly by alien standards. It had none of the elegant efficiency of their usual systems. Instead, it was a web of simple connections, manual controls, and basic power management. But it worked. More importantly, it could be fixed by hand when it broke. The humans had turned the fleet's weakness, its advanced technology, into a strength by making it simpler. As the last emergency lights switched back to main power, Walker looked at his tired crew. They had done the impossible. Again. But he knew this wasn't over. The quantum anomaly was still up there, growing stronger. They had won this battle. But the war wasn't over yet. The quantum anomaly grew larger every hour. On Unity 1's main screen, it showed as a swirling purple mass of energy, spreading through space like a slow-moving storm. Their temporary fixes wouldn't hold forever. They needed a permanent solution. "Look at this," Thompson said, pointing to her readings. "Every time the anomaly pulses, it disrupts the alien quantum systems. But our nuclear power stays stable." She paused, then added, "What if that's not a coincidence?" Walker and Ada gathered around her workstation as she explained her theory. The aliens had built their technology to be so efficient that it had become vulnerable. Their quantum systems were too perfect, too sensitive. But human technology, with all its imperfections, was naturally resistant. "It's like an immune system," Thompson explained. "Our technology developed resistance because it had to work in harsh conditions. Your systems never needed to adapt." Ada's eyes widened with understanding. "You think we could use your primitive technology as a shield?" "Not just a shield," Thompson said. "A weapon." The plan they developed was both simple and daring. They would build a massive ring of nuclear reactors around the fleet, creating a field of what Thompson called organized chaos. Radiation and energy patterns so basic and irregular that the quantum anomaly couldn't affect them. "It's crazy enough that it might work," Walker said, studying the plans. "But we'll need more reactors than we have." "Then we'll build more," Thompson replied simply. "We have the materials. We have the knowledge. And now we have alien hands to help." The next few days were a frenzy of activity. Human engineers taught alien crews how to build basic nuclear reactors from scratch. The aliens, with their advanced manufacturing capabilities, helped speed up the process enormously. "Remarkable," Ada said, watching an alien fabrication unit create reactor parts based on human designs. "We would never have thought to use our technology this way. To build something so basic." The work was dangerous. They had to position the reactors in space, creating a perfect circle around the fleet. One mistake could expose everyone to deadly radiation. But humans had centuries of experience handling these risks. "Steady now," Walker called out as teams in spacesuits guided another reactor into position. "Remember your radiation safety protocols. This isn't quantum energy. It will kill you if you get sloppy." The aliens learned quickly. They discovered that working with physical tools, handling real materials, gave them a better understanding of power and energy than their quantum systems ever had. It was a return to fundamental engineering that their civilization had forgotten. As they worked, Thompson monitored the anomaly. It was still growing, still threatening the fleet. But now, they were ready for it. "Final reactor in position," reported Commander Richards. "Power grid is ready." Walker looked at Ada, who nodded. It was time. "Start the sequence," he ordered. "All reactors, power up to full." One by one, the nuclear reactors came to life. They formed a circle of controlled chaos around the fleet, each one adding its energy to the field. The aliens watched in fascination as their sensors showed the seemingly random patterns of radiation and energy building up. "The anomaly is reacting," Ada reported, her voice tense. "It's being pushed back." The quantum anomaly, which had crippled the most advanced technology in the galaxy, couldn't handle the basic brute force of human nuclear power. Where alien quantum fields had failed, simple radiation and energy succeeded. "It's working," Thompson shouted, watching her readings. "The anomaly is breaking up." The purple swirl in space began to dissipate, torn apart by the field of nuclear energy surrounding the fleet. It was like watching water evaporate. The complex quantum patterns simply couldn't maintain their structure in the face of such fundamental force. Ada turned to Walker, her silver skin glowing with what humans had learned was their expression of joy. "You did it," she said. "You actually did it. You saved our fleet with technology we thought was obsolete." Walker smiled. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, but we couldn't have done it without your help." This was a victory for both our peoples. The quantum anomaly disappeared completely, leaving behind a fleet of alien ships surrounded by a ring of human nuclear reactors, a perfect symbol of how two civilizations, working together, had found strength in their differences. 1 month after the quantum anomaly was destroyed, the Great Hall of the United Nations was filled with both humans and aliens. The Stellar Assembly had sent their highest representatives to Earth for this historic moment. Walker stood in his formal uniform, still feeling strange about being on solid ground after so long in space. Beside him, Dr. Thompson fidgeted with her medal, the first ever given to a human by an alien civilization. "To think," Ada whispered to them, her silver skin gleaming under Earth's sun, "we almost didn't send that distress signal to your planet. Many thought a primitive civilization couldn't possibly help us." The head speaker of the Stellar Assembly stood at the podium, his tall form commanding attention. The translator converted his words into every human language as he spoke. "We came to your solar system by accident," he began, "stranded and in danger. We thought we would find a primitive species barely reaching for the stars. Instead, we found something far more valuable. We found teachers." A murmur went through the crowd. The aliens, calling humans teachers. It seemed impossible just a month ago. "Your people showed us something we had forgotten," the speaker continued. "That true advancement isn't just about having the most complex technology. It's about understanding the basic principles. It's about being able to solve problems with whatever tools are available." The alien leader gestured to the human engineers and technicians who had been part of the rescue mission. "These humans taught us to work with our hands again. They showed us that sometimes the simple solution is the best solution. They reminded us that any civilization that forgets its foundations builds on dangerous ground." Thompson couldn't help smiling as she remembered the alien engineers learning to use wrenches and screwdrivers, discovering the satisfaction of fixing things with their own hands rather than relying on automated systems. The speaker raised a crystal device, and a hologram appeared above the assembly. It showed the designs for a new type of ship, one that combined the best of both civilizations' technology. "We propose a joint project," he announced, "a new fleet that carries both quantum drives and nuclear power systems, ships that can be as advanced as we need, but as basic as we must be. And we want human engineers to help design and build them." The announcement caused excitement throughout the hall, but the speaker wasn't finished. "Furthermore, the Stellar Assembly formally invites Earth to join our Confederation of Worlds, not as a junior member, as would be normal for a civilization at your technological level, but as a full partner. You have earned this right not through technological advancement, but through practical wisdom." Walker felt Ada touch his arm gently. "Your people will help us remember what we almost lost," she said quietly. "The importance of understanding the basics, of being able to adapt, of never forgetting our roots." The human ambassador stepped forward to accept the invitation. As she did, Walker noticed something interesting. The aliens had changed how they moved. They were more practical now, less reliant on their automated assistants. Many had even started carrying tool belts, a very human practice they had adopted. "We accept this invitation with pride and humility," the ambassador said. "Humanity has always dreamed of reaching the stars. Now we know that we have something valuable to offer when we get there." After the ceremony, Walker found himself looking up at the night sky with Thompson and Ada. Somewhere up there, the alien fleet was preparing to continue its journey, now protected by both quantum technology and human nuclear power. "You know what the best part is," Thompson said, grinning. "They're sending their young engineers to Earth to learn basic mechanics and engineering. They want to make sure they never lose these skills again." Ada nodded. "We learned that being advanced doesn't mean abandoning the fundamentals. Your people reminded us that the ability to solve problems with simple tools is just as valuable as having complex technology." Walker watched a satellite pass overhead, one of humanity's early steps into space. "So what's next?" he asked. "Everything," Ada replied. "We have quantum science, you have practical engineering. Together, we'll build things neither of our civilizations could have imagined alone." As the stars twinkled above them, Walker thought about how a simple distress call had changed both civilizations forever. Humanity had reached for the stars and found not just new friends, but a unique place in the galaxy as the civilization that remembered the importance of simple solutions to complex problems.